Hi, I'm Nate Seberg, and this is One Day Ahead. Welcome to the Teaching of Mice and Men video series. Here, I'm going to walk you step by step through how I guide students in my classroom through this book. The rest of the series can be found at onedayahead.com, along with the student-facing summary and analysis series and the exact same teaching materials that I'm going to cover here entirely for free. How amazing is that? Let's walk through the unit. I'm going to hit the major pieces here, but know that your lesson plans also have warm-ups and exit tickets, discussion questions, my summary and analysis videos, and homework. These are the centerpieces. That's what I'm going to hit here, but there is more on the page. So, before students crack the text, I help them get oriented to the era by discussing letters from the boxcar. These are historical documents, real letters written by children who found themselves riding the rails in the Great Depression. We jigsaw out the readings and there are discussion questions. We also do a gallery walk. I've given you 20 images, quotes, charts, stuff. Print them out, mount them on butcher paper, and invite students to circulate the room with markers and interact with the pictures and each other in silence. Put on music so it's not like super oppressive. Students make comments, they write jokes, they ask questions, they doodle, whatever they want to do. They rotate through in silence. Finally, we have a reading introducing Steinbeck and highlighting his experiences and influences that made their way into his book. And that's like a day and a half, and that's all the pre-reading stuff that I do. Next up, we crack the text and read chapter 1. Here, you are going to introduce this graphic organizer. It's got a page for each of the principal characters with a combination of opportunities for serious literary analysis and straight silliness. Students use this document to track the development of the characters over the course of the entire text. So I spend 2 days on chapter 1. The first day, I want to nail down the relationship between these guys, Lenny's dependence on George and the obvious power of the dream. I saved the more delicate task of passing judgment on George for the second day. Here's my goal. I'm trying to help kids see George in shades of gray. I want them to at least entertain the idea that George's treatment of Lenny is a good man doing a bad job. Kids can get super judgy, I don't know if you've experienced that, and they can look at George and only see this long-suffering, verbally abusive man yelling at a guy with intellectual disabilities. You can lose them right from the start. So I need to not break that perception, but nuance it a bit. And I do that with the historical figures activity. This is a series of readings that take our cultural heroes, our Abraham Lincolns and Martin Luther King Jr.'s, and I point out to them the ways that they fall short of our ethical standards today. They were visionaries in some ways, but other things they did would definitely get them canceled today. It's a little heretical, to be honest, but it forces kids to contend with that gray and ask to what extent we should judge the characters' choices by the standards of their time or by ours. Next up, chapter 2. Chapter 2 introduces us to all the principal characters in this book, and we take this opportunity to get students thinking in terms of systems. Students attempt to map the social hierarchy on the ranch based on what we learn about each character. They contend with power and authority and inequality. It's pretty straightforward. So here's a weird sentence. Killing the dog in chapter 3 is awesome. I mean, it's super sad, don't get me wrong, but it does allow us to embed everything we're going to need for when we do this again with Lenny at the end. It's a tragedy, but it's a real opportunity. So we want to give students a few frameworks they can use to consider these events, a few perspectives grounded in philosophy. So in Ethics, Philosophy, and Death, we explore the ethical implications of shooting the dog from the perspective of Immanuel Kant, Jeremy Bentham, and Aristotle. Understanding the philosophies of these thinkers is such a big lift that I've actually made a whole separate video on it. It's the next one in this series. So I'm not going to go into that super deep here, but broadly, students are going to use AI to chat with these long dead philosophers, understand their perspectives, then apply this framework to the events of chapter 3. There are instructions for you and a worksheet for them, and like I said, a whole video that'll get you up to speed. Chapter 4 brings us back to the character work. We finally meet Crooks in this chapter, and we spend some time examining the things in his room and what they say about his character. So it's close reading, inferring character traits, analyzing symbolism, lots of English teacher words. Chapter 5 is a biggie. Lulu, my name for Curly's wife, is shockingly killed by Lenny. And what are we going to do with these events? Almost nothing. We are holding all of that for the Socratic Seminar at the end. There's an initial reaction doc that I assign as homework, but that's it. Also, when you watch the summary and analysis videos, you're going to want to stop when I start talking about Lulu's death so you don't step on the points that students will want to make during the seminar. Which brings us to chapter 6, the gutting and tragic killing of Lenny by his friend and protector, George. And it's the same thing here. Read it, have students process it individually, and don't step on the upcoming Socratic Seminar by telling students what you think or showing the analysis section of that video. And from there, we're off and prepping for the Socratic Seminar, which is the culminating event of this unit. I take 3 days to do it, and it is a very big deal. Now, how I introduce and run these seminars is its own video in this series as well. It's just too much to do here. But in the free unit, you will find this double-sided prep sheet with the central and guiding questions for each seminar, one on Lulu and one on Lenny. You'll find supporting materials like a letter from Steinbeck about Lulu's backstory, excerpts from the Americans with Disabilities Act, and rubrics, frameworks, supports, lots of stuff. And that, friends, is a walkthrough of the Mice and Men teaching unit. If you're running this in your classroom, first of all, good for you. This book is not benign. It is difficult, it is dangerous, and we are walking some scary lines around racism, disability, and death. Why do it? It's because it's worth it. Because it teaches students about justice, about friendship, and about what we owe to our most vulnerable neighbors. Thank you for watching. Be sure to check out those deep dive videos on the philosophers and the Socratic Seminar and everything else related to Of Mice and Men on my website. We'll see you next time on One Day Ahead.